world tour.
Next up, we're heading to France.
Ooh la la.
Now, France is really interesting
I'm intrigued.
because their civil service exam system, which they call the Concours,
The Concours.
yeah, the Concours,
Right.
it really focuses on critical thinking and problem-solving skills.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're not as worried about you memorizing a bunch of facts. They want to see if you can analyze a situation and come up with solutions.
So it's like more about how you think than what you know.
Exactly. And that makes sense, right?
It does, because if you're working in government, you're going to face all sorts of unexpected problems.
Right. Like imagine you're a civil servant in France and suddenly there's a huge transportation strike.
Oh,
People can't get to work. The city's kind of paralyzed.
that's a nightmare.
You, as a civil servant, need to figure out what's going on, why it's happening, and how to fix it.
That's a lot of pressure.
It is. But that's the kind of real-world problem solving that the Concours is all about.
I see. So it's like a test run for those kinds of situations.
Exactly. Okay, ready for our last stop.
Hit me.
We're going to China.
I've heard about their civil service exams.
Uh-huh.
They're supposed to be massive.
Massive is an understatement.
Real?
We're talking over 1 million applicants every year.
1 million.
1 million. All competing for a very limited number of government jobs.
That's like the population of some cities.
I know. It's one of the most competitive exams on the entire planet.
So what's the exam itself like?
Well, it's a single written test.
Just one.
Just one. But it covers a huge range of subjects.
Right.
Politics, law, administrative procedures, pretty much anything you might need to know to run a country as big and complex as China.
That's a lot to cover in one test.
Oh, yeah.
My brain hurts just thinking about it.
Mine too. And you know what?
Right.
After this whirlwind world tour,
I know, right? We've been everywhere.
5 different countries, 5 different ways of picking civil servants.
It's amazing how much variety there is.
I need a minute to process all this.
Me too. It's a lot to take in.
Maybe we should do a quick recap before we start comparing them.
Yeah, good idea.
All right, so we started in India,
The land of the UPSC, right?
the UPSC, that marathon of general knowledge and crazy competition,
And then we went to South Korea.
where they're laser focused on law, administration, and economics.
Practical skills.
Then we hopped over to the US.
Where they have a whole bunch of different tests for different jobs.
Exactly. More tailored approach.
Then it was off to France,
Home of the Concours.
which is all about critical thinking and problem solving.
Real world skills.
And finally, we landed in China.
Where 1 million people
1 million.
take a single massive exam.
Wow, what a journey.
I know. And we're just getting started.
Bring on the comparisons.
Get ready, listeners. Things are about to get even more interesting. Okay, so we've done our world tour.
Yep, whirlwind tour of civil service exams.
Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Let's do it.
Let's compare these exams side by side. First up, the syllabus.
What are they actually testing on these things?
Yeah, and we've seen
I've seen a lot.
there's a huge range.
From like everything under the sun to very specific stuff.
Exactly. So let's start with India's UPSC exam. I mean, that syllabus, it's like ridiculously broad.
It's a monster, isn't it?
It is. They're testing you on
Let's see, there was,
history, geography, politics, economics,
oh yeah, all that.
science, the arts.
They even had ethics and philosophy in there.
Yeah, they want to make sure you have a well-rounded understanding of, like, the world.
Well-rounded is an understatement.
I know, right? It's like a mental marathon.
You got to have the knowledge.
And you have to be able to connect the dots.
Make it all fit together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, compare that to South Korea's exam.
Much more focused.
Way more focused.
They're all about
Law, administration, economics.
the core stuff.
Yeah. Very practical skills.
It's like they're looking for people who can, like, step right into a government job and get things done.
That's the idea. And it makes sense, right?
It does. I mean, those skills are super important for running a country.
Absolutely. Now, what about the US system?
With all the different tests.
All those different tests. How does the scope vary there?
Well, it's really all about tailoring the exam to the specific job, right?
Which we were talking about before.
Yeah. So, for example, the Foreign Service Officer test, the FSOT.
Yeah.
That one's all about
Diplomacy, international relations, being able to work with people from all different cultures.
exactly.
Yes.
They're looking for a very specific set of skills there.
It's not just about knowing facts and figures. It's about being able to, like, navigate complex situations.
Totally.
Oh.
It's like finding like the last page of a mystery novel or something, you know?
Yeah, like what happened before this?
Right.
It's so interesting, and
Let's go on.
it really makes you think, like,
Yeah.
Why would they save just this part?
Yeah.
Why is it the last line?
Yeah.
Was it so important that they just had to save this little piece of it?
Yeah, it seems like it must have been important to someone
It had to be.
to go to the trouble of saving it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so right away,
Mm-hmm.
the speaker here is talking to everyone
Mm-hmm.
and mentions that this is the first half.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of getting like a lecture hall vibe from this. What do you think?
That's interesting.
Like a classroom or a workshop or something?
I think it's a good possibility.
Yeah.
But the tone here, it doesn't feel
Yeah.
like super strict
Mhm.
or formal,
Yeah.
It feels more like a mentor kind of
Yeah.
guiding a group,
Right, yeah.
really invested in their progress. And
Yeah.
look a little further down here.
Okay.
They're talking about mindfulness and attentiveness,
Oh, wow.
which is so interesting. Like they're
That's cool.
baking those ideas
Yeah.
into whatever they're talking about,
Yeah.
like right from the start.
Yeah, it's not just about
But it's not.
what they're learning, it's how they're learning it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.